everybody. Thanks for joining the podcast. Samurai Blitz here for another J6 series headlined by John. Today we have a special guest. Eliel Rosa is here with us to talk about his experience of the J6 series and what he went through. John, take it away, brother.
Even with practicing, Chris managed to screw up your name, Eliel.
Eliel
Rosa. I'm just playing. But
let's do this for the next 5 minutes. Come on.
So this is Eliel. He is an American patriot. He was involved in the January 6th debacle. He's been educated for the last 20 plus years in 24 different countries. He's here to explain his story and also talk about the legal troubles that he's having, because he is, from what we know, he is the only one that is not an American citizen that was caught up in this whole situation. And he has a lot of things to tell us about what he's dealing with now and everything else going on. So thank you, Eliel, for making the time to talk with us. I really appreciate it, brother. And cheers. It's Friday. Hope everybody had a good week. If you didn't, have a beer and it'll get better.
Let's do it to it.
So Eliel, go ahead and explain if I missed anything.
I should have brought mine. I didn't. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
How are you right now? Come on.
I'm going to be celebrating here anyway, so don't worry.
Hell yeah.
Cheers.
Okay, guys. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for your interest in hearing my story. I have been doing my best efforts to tell my story out there, and because I have been dealing with America as a nation and the American people for many, many years of my life. The American people are a very generous, very compassionate, very empathetic people. Americans can understand suffering from others. America is wherever there is suffering in the world. At least the world that I worked in, 24 countries of the world, I met Americans there. I met American business people. I met American missionaries. I met Americans doing something for the good of that nation, of those nations, of wherever there is a catastrophe, a tragedy in the world, Americans are there. So I am pleading with the American people for my case. And again, we're going to be talking about that because of January 6th. As a friend told me a couple of days ago, he said, man, you are an American. You might not be a citizen, but you are an American at heart. I understand where he was coming from, and I agree with him. All of the sentiments that I have in my heart for this country, I honor this country so much. First of all, probably the first reason here, John and Chris, is that I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ, and my father came to know the Lord Jesus Christ because of an American missionary in Brazil. So there is this debt of love that I have for this country. I learned English. I was very young. I was 14 years old when I had already started working in the idiomatic career as an idiomatic career professional in the translation interpretation arena, which I worked. And then I added Spanish later on in my life. I worked in this arena for 30 years of my life. Then I started working in government. I worked in government for over 20 years of my life in these countries that I just mentioned. And when I came to America, pretty much the big word that liberals out there, they hate this word. The word is assimilate, right? We want immigrants to assimilate. We want immigrants to be a part of who we are. We want immigrants to embrace the American culture. I assimilated America before I came. So when I came here and when I went to D.C. that day, guys, I acted like this is my country. I have all of the identity of my heart, all of the identity of my conscience, everything that I believe in. I looked, again, I've been working in government arena for time long enough to see that there was a big problem, to say the least, in the 2020 election. I know that you guys agree with me.
Yeah.
So we know that. Right. So I saw that. And again, guys, if you need to interrupt me and cut me off, it's so we can this can be a conversation, not a monologue. But again, I was in D.C. that day because I believed, number one, that the election was stolen. The election was an absolute fraud. And because of that, I went to D.C. for election integrity. And number three, I was in DC that day because I considered myself to be as being a legal immigrant, that I was covered by the First Amendment that says that you can assemble peacefully and petition the government for you can present your grievances. I believed that. I had that very solid in my heart. Why? Because DC January 6th, 2021 was not my first round. It was not my first journey. I had been in the election 2020. I went to Atlanta to door knock and block walk there for the two. If you guys remember, if the Republicans had won the two final seats for senator in Georgia, Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, Biden would not have had free reign to do everything he did. At least the Senate would somehow check him out, right? But we lost those two seats. But I was in Atlanta door knocking and block walking for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. I went to Phoenix to one of the Stop the Steal rallies with Charlie Kirk. So I was all over the place. And what I did in D.C. in January was exactly what I had done in D.C. in November when Trump called his guys, he rallied his troops to go to D.C. and for what he called it, the 1 million mega march. Remember that?
Yeah.
He called that. I was there, and it was just so fun. And I met Americans from so many states that day in November. Then I was back in January. It was freezing cold, 20 degrees, super humid. So Trump started. I went back. I went to the Ellipse that morning from my hotel at 5:30 in the morning before the sunrise. Trump was supposed to start talking at 11 a.m. He delayed 1 hour, so he started at 12. I stayed the whole thing. He finished at, he wrapped it up at 1 p.m. I went back to my hotel because my clothes were so damp, so humid. I was freezing cold. I went back to the hotel. I changed clothes. I got some water in my backpack, some food, some snacks, and went to the Capitol. It's a 40-minute walk from the White House to the Capitol. When I get there, John and Chris, when I get there and the FBI cameras put me inside of the Capitol at 2:32 p.m. and 17 minutes later, I left so I entered the West Terrace on the west side, and then I left on the other side, the east side, 17 minutes later. When I got there, the doors were burst open. Everybody was coming in and out. There was a guy. And I think, did I send you a couple of pictures, John? I think
no, but we'll post them. I was gonna say, was the West Terrace, was that the one that had all the, like, where the commotion was happening, or was that? Oh, so you would. So you were when you got there, the commotion was already over.
When I got there, so okay, let me back up a little bit. Trump started speaking at 12, but the official FBI documents, DOJ documents, show that at 11:23, meaning 40 minutes before Trump even started speaking, the first breach, as they call it, the first breach of the Capitol happened. That was Ryan Semso was there, Mark Angeles Middleton, they are here from Texas, they were there. All these guys were just caught on the first commotion that happened when they just, let's say, broke through and went all the way to very close to the Capitol. So I was there. A lot happened in these 40 minutes before Trump started speaking. And then as Trump was speaking, the second breach happened. And then I cannot tell you how many people were already there. Many folks that day, guys, decided not to stay for Trump's speech. They went straight to the Capitol. Those were the first ones caught by the FBI starting that same night. They started going to hotels that same night and arresting people that same night. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, you're good. I was gonna say that's the scene that the news, the mainstream media plays on a loop, right? That's what you're talking about.
So when I get there at 2:32, I enter the Capitol. It was open door. There was a guy holding the door. According to Representative Higgins, he's from Louisiana, former sheriff. He's like a pit bull, and he has been saying that there were more than 240 FBI, CIA agents there that day, and other agencies as well.
Estimates would put the number of FBI assets in the crowd outside and working inside at well over 200.
200?
Yeah.
So he said that the guy that was holding the door for a couple of minutes, as I was passing by, and then John, I'm going to send you those pictures because it shows me entering that door. There's a guy holding the door, and he's super nonchalantly looking at his phone. He was one of the infiltrated guys, and they were just welcoming people. And I went inside. There were people there, just were coming out as I was going in. People were praying. People were singing the national anthem. There was tension. Of course, it was very tense. But I only saw those violent, horrible videos when I went back to the hotel at close to 6 p.m. that day.
So you went in when the riot was pretty much over.
Oh, yeah. When I was there, well, there was something, Chris, that happened. There was the West Tunnel. When Roseanne Boylan died, that happened when I left the Capitol at 4:30. So that was the most explosive moment, actually, right? Because that is when, I don't know if you guys have heard of, and if you have not, I can just give his contact information and you can interview him, Luke Coffey.
Okay.
Luke Coffey, do you remember a guy that caught a crutch somewhere and he stood between the police officers, the Metropolitan Police officers and Capitol Police, and he stood between them and the crowd behind him. Roseanne Boylan had fallen to his left hand. The guy he lifted this crutch. He was praying that moment. And he was saying, guys, God, do something here. And you have that on video. I have that video for you. But Luke was praying in that moment. He was charged of attacking police officers, and he was in jail, I think, for 60 days. He was not attacking anybody. He was accused of attacking the police officers with that crutch, which he never did. So those things happen in the West Tunnel. But again, I was already walking back to the hotel. It was a 45-minute walk back to the hotel from the Capitol. So when I turn the TV, actually my wife calls me and she says, have you seen any of that? Where were you, right? He said, where were you? I have been trying to call you for hours, and there was no signal inside. I could not do anything. There was. They blocked everything there for some reason. Now we know why, right?
They didn't want people recording or doing anything.
There you go.
My wife would have been like, "You son of a bitch!" God, like I knew it. Yeah, I could imagine, man. I want to know, when you saw that footage when you were in the hotel room, were you thinking like, "Oh shit, like this is gonna be way worse"? Okay, so it was like an instant like realization that.
Now let me tell you why, John. Why I felt like that. I felt like that because I'm not a citizen.
Yeah.
I felt like that because my wife had told me, as your wife would, absolutely would. She told me, don't. And I'm not a proper troublemaker. I'm super cool. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm not into any of that. But again, it was super tense. It was like super not out of control, but I saw people were, especially after Mike Pence, if you remember that, like in the middle of the Trump's speech, Mike Pence put a tweet out saying, I am not going to stop the, remember that Ted Cruz had officially requested him, Mike Pence, to pause for 10 days the certification of the Electoral College votes. And he said, let us send the votes of these 6 pending states back to the states' legislatures. And then we come back in 10 days, and whatever they decide, we're going to certify it that way. And then Mike Pence says, I am not going to do that. So at that moment, there was this tension, just was ripple effect. And when Trump talked about it on the microphone, he said, yeah, it looks like Pence is not going to do that. But again, he said it that many times, and we know that his speech was cut in order to build the narrative. He said very clearly, now we're going to go to the Capitol to peacefully and patriotically present our grievances, we have a problem here, right?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And during that time when you were at the protest, when you were at the rally, Trump's rally, were you how far distance were you from Trump? Were you like in the middle, the front, or are you in the very back?
I am. There was Trump's stage, and then there was a an area, big area for special guests. Of course, they always have them, right? So there's like many lines of chairs, rows of chairs. And then there was this first group of people packed on the side of the ellipse, which is on the grounds of the White House. Then there's the street. I am right there on the beginning of the very next side, across from the stage, across from where the first block of people was. I was right there. So I'll send you the pictures. You will see that I was super far away from the Washington Memorial, and the crowd was going all the way to almost to the Lincoln Memorial. If you have been to DC, you know how far it was. There were many more than a million people there that day, guys. It was amazing experience. One I will never, as an immigrant, not a citizen yet, that thing is engraved in my memory. That moment was so electrifying. So, I mean, you are part of this massive family of red, white, and blue, and everybody's cheering the country and USA and singing the national anthem. And it was a vibrancy that was so beautiful to see. And of course, we did not know. I should have known better, guys. Why? And again, back to the hotel, when I turned the TV, my wife is on the phone with me. She's saying, I've been trying to call you for hours. Turn the TV on. And then I turned the TV, every single channel. That was a narrative. It needed to be built that way. And I told her, I never saw any of that. I saw people praying. I saw people singing. I saw people, guys, picking up trash on the floor of the Capitol. They were cleaning the place. They were walking inside of velvet ropes. I mean, it was taking pictures, making videos. It was a moment of a lifetime for so many Americans, because many Americans had never been inside of the Capitol before. It is a monumental building. It's amazing. I lived in D.C. in 2015 for close to 6 months, and I visited the Capitol many times. It is majestic. So Americans were mesmerized. It was like, oh my goodness, what is this? There was no breaking of anything. There was no defacing, no destruction. There was none of that.
Yeah, the media was very quick to paint a lot of patriots with an ugly brush, making them look like just criminals.
Yeah, and I remember that when you mentioned earlier, that's where they were saying like Republicans, like the fan base basically shot themselves in the foot, because Mike Pence was gonna give that 10-day window to do more investigations and stuff like that, and then after that. That was just after that, it was basically, he was pressured to say, okay, we're not doing none of that shit. We're just going to completely we're going to just go ahead and approve everything. But now, as you said before, and as we found out later in the years that have come, that there was a lot of FBI agents. So that's why I think it was a setup in so many ways. I think the FBI knew that, like, John, we're gonna do this.
when Nancy Pelosi and Muriel Bowser, the mayor of DC, when they decline flat out the availability Trump made available, and Kash Patel knows that, because Kash Patel was the guy that presented to them in person the document from Trump making available 10,000 troops. So again, let me go back a little bit in terms of what I saw in DC before that. 2015, I lived there for almost 6 months. And there was one time that there was a joint session of Congress in DC, in the Capitol. I lived very close to the Capitol when I was serving a local ministry there. They had, guys, 2 lines of fencing, not 1, 2, because again, it's a high priority target, right, for any crazy person out there. So there were 2 lines of fencing. This time, people get there. There is nothing. Nobody knew that they were breaching anything, breaking lines, crossing abstract, subjective lines. Nobody knew that. And this is why, this is why they arrested 78-year-old ladies with stage 3 cancer for 60 days.
Yeah, that was terrible. I remember when I heard that story, I was like, "Are you serious?"
I didn't hear the story.
Yeah, the FBI was just raiding their house. I mean, it was a shit show. But that is on camera too. Nancy Pelosi denying security. That's why I think Nancy Pelosi is just. I mean, all those people are just evil, man. They knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And I think like they did that because they knew if they could get that photo op, they were like, then we could just do whatever we want, just kind of like the way after 9/11 where with the Patriot Act,
Right.
like we're gonna be able to just do whatever the fuck we want because everybody's focused on that. Now it's like, look at what they did, and you can see it now. Every time anything happens, it's almost like the way people like 9/11. 9/11. It's like now it's just like,
The insurrection,
January
the
6th,
insurrection,
January 6th, January 6th. Oh, we need to
Right.
why January 6th and this January 6th, and it's like
Yeah,
we get it.
they're never gonna let it go.
Oh, dude, that's they said it was worse than any other attack on
Pearl
American
Harbor.
history.
Yeah, they said it was
Yes.
worse than Pearl
And it's
Harbor.
like,
which is-
Oklahoma bombing.
yes, and it's like 9/11. Like speaking of 9/11, like that was way worse. What are you talking about? The only people that died were the protesters on that
Yeah.
side. None of the, and they always try to say like 6 cops died. It had nothing to do with January
No,
6th, and
absolutely
they just want to.
not.
They want to. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you remember, but they try to paint it like one got beat up with a fire extinguisher, like bludgeoned to death. And when I first heard that, I ain't gonna lie, I was like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, what's going on?"
Now, can you imagine that in every single media outlet out there, telling the American people that one Capitol police officer was beaten to death with a fire extinguisher? I mean,
Yeah,
this
it was-
is creepy thing, right? You have to round these people up. These people need to pay the maximum penalty, right? Because they are killing
sure.
people. They killed people. Now, they never talk about, I was 20 feet away from the place where Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed.
I was just about to ask that.
Nobody talk about that, right?
Yeah.
So what really happened in DC? Now I'm talking as a political analyst that I am. What happened that day was, I remember that, and I talk about this so much, guys. When I left to DC on January 5th, on the previous day, gasoline in Texas was $1.81, here in Midland, $1.81 the gallon. Inflation was under control. The border was under control. So Trump had everything under control. And now there's no way they could allow him to be reelected. Something needed to be done, and they would not run the risk that they did in 2016, because again, we all know what happened in 2016 as well. But again, they somehow slept on the wheel, and all of a sudden Trump is elected president close to midnight on November in 2016. They would not allow that to happen again. So as a political analyst, all that I can say is Trump should not, could not, and back then, Trump must not be reelected. Let's do whatever needs to be done so that he is not elected. So all of that happened. And again, it was, I believe, a moment, 4 years for all Americans, as so many talking heads out there, especially podcasters, told us so many times, well, if we told people what was going on behind the curtains, people probably would not believe us. Let people see that. So what we saw, the levels of corruption that we saw in my arena, and I'm an immigrant. So if there is a group of people in this country that hates illegal immigration, it's people like me, because in seven years, I paid for me, my wife, and 2 sons $64,000 in government taxes and attorneys and medical exams to be here legally. Now, this is a debate that needs to be done. But again, it's not fair for people like me that are paying dozens of dollars, of thousands of dollars, that, now you are receiving anything from the government. What about me? And this is exactly what they did to me. They waited for Trump to win. So as soon as Trump won, and Trump repeated over and over and over again, I am going to pardon the J6ers, right? And I believe that Trump did that because he underwent the process himself. I don't believe that Trump would have done that if he had not been himself persecuted and oppressed the way he was. I mean, these people shot on his face. These people brought a mugshot of his arrest. I mean, they just mocked him to the wazoo. So he knew that what that meant, and he knew that 99.9% of people that day in DC, they were decent, ordinary, common Americans, just in desperate need of. Guys, I have a problem with the 2020 election, and I am not even able permitted to talk about it. Remember that they started canceling
Yeah.
anybody.
They were shutting down everybody.
Yeah, where
So one of the
YouTube
things
and
that
everything else.
one of the
Yeah,
things that I
whatever.
said was, if you have the truth, you don't need to cancel people. Now, if you are shutting down and shutting up everybody and then not allowing people to speak, there's a problem there, right? So Trump does
Absolutely.
that. But as soon as Trump wins in November, and then they knew that my case, I was, to my knowledge, back at that again, to my knowledge, I'm the only one non-citizen that day. They knew that my case was going to be dismissed. This is my pardon right here on my left hand, as you guys can see.
That's
I'm
awesome.
pardoned.
Cool.
So
So
I
they
am.
gave you like a physical copy, like, or you
Yes,
printed it out?
it's right
Oh,
here.
I wasn't sure because everybody's posting it on X, and I wasn't sure like if it was just like a email they sent. So I haven't
No.
asked that. So I do want to elaborate on what you said, because my wife is from Japan, so I had to go
Wow.
through USCIS myself to get a green card for her. She's now on a 10-year green card. And
Right.
USCIS, that process is fucking brutal. I mean, it's
Yes.
a brutal process. And
Yes.
it does make you more angry towards illegal immigrants. It's kind of like, I could have just brought my wife through the fucking border and
Right.
get free shit.
Right.
Like, I would have rather done that, you know?
Yeah,
like,
you got a
it
phone,
was
and
like,
you would have
what?
got a debit card and everything.
I had to get lawyers, and then I had to go through fights with some lawyers. I got
Yep.
dropped from a lawyer. I had to get another one because this motherfucker wasn't giving me the right advice, because, you know, they just, oh, yeah, I'm working on it. And it was a brutal process. I had to spend 6 months away from my wife
Right.
and kid at that time.
Wow.
And finally we got it done. Now you did tell me your story that you're trying to get stuff through Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz actually, it wasn't him personally, of course, but I did message. I mean, I did write a letter to his office, and they did expedite it. And then you would see people, and I don't know, maybe you are probably on those things on Facebook. They have communities like USCIS communities, and you would see people like, literally, I just met my husband last week. We got married, and I already got approved. We're already going to the meetings, and I'm like,
What?
Are you serious?
Wow.
Like, and I would be so pissed off because we're like 2 years in, and they're just like, oh, hey, by the way, we're in Potomac. I think it was Potomac. I don't know that one area. Because there's like different wherever USCIS you go to, and ours just was taking forever, and it was terrible. And so I do understand when legal immigrants could be really pissed off at illegal immigrants. Like, dude,
Yes.
we went through all this shit.
Yeah.
Why y'all just come in, walk in, and get free stuff? Like, yes, that's
Now
definitely-
let me tell you something, John. Really, from the bottom of my heart, with all honesty, before you and before God, right now, I have I have zero anger, or I don't hate illegal immigrants. Many of them I know that came, again, what brought me to America? Let's go there, because I'm going to connect with what I'm saying right now. Why do I not hate the illegal immigrants, although they are super pampered and I am not? I'm dealt with by the American government with all power of the government, and they are not. So I don't hate them. I hate illegal immigration, meaning the system is completely upside down and broken. Now,
well, that's
why?
what I meant. I just want to say that's what I
Right.
meant. By the way, I don't mean like I hate illegal immigrants
Right.
themselves.
And I know that
I
you
hate the system. Yeah,
Exactly.
I just wanted to clear that up before that's
Right.
sound bite. But
And
no,
I don't-
I totally understand what you're saying.
And I don't, because I am an immigrant myself, and I left my country because the mayor of my city there exploded my car inside of our garage, and we were supposed to be dead. Me, my wife, my 2 sons, and according to the firemen that came to put out the fire, the neighbor on the left, the neighbor on the right would have died in the explosion. It would make world headlines, because the mayor of my city, it's a long story, but I came here I didn't come to beg for an asylum. I came for my PhD. I wanted to have my doctorate in constitutional law, which is something that I've been doing for over 20 years of my life, as I told you guys. So I came, my wife said, this is the time, let's go. We spend 4 years there for your study, then we return. But when we arrived here, what happened, to tell a small story, oh my God, to make a long story a shorter
There
one.
you go.
That's
So,
a story I want to hear.
That's a big story.
That's
There's a lot
an
to talk about.
interesting story, but
Make
yeah.
it long if you want. Don't worry about it.
Now, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
But what happened here was the university had sent me the wrong list of requirements for the student visa. When we arrived here, they called me. I mean, we burned the bridges with Brazil because now our plan now is our documents were submitted and accepted. And now we're going to be 4 years in the United States of America. So we sold everything we had. We disconnected from everything we left behind. We are here. I received a phone call. The university says, sir, we messed up with your paperwork. We sent you the wrong list of requirements because we thought you were an American student, because you're fluent in English, because you have academic and professional experience all around the world. We thought that we were dealing with an American student pursuing their PhD. And I said, well, guys, you are a Christian university. You fixed the problem. But I knew that the problem was the government documents. So long story short, I had to start how to fix the problem was I have to file everything again. And now it's 3 times as many documents, and instead of $25,000 for 1 year. So every single university, well, specifically that university, when you come as an international student, back up. When you come as a citizen, American citizen, to study at that university, and you plan to live at the campus of the university, you have to have $25,000 sitting on an account that you cannot touch that money. It's just a guarantee that if you don't pay your tuition, that's the money that they're going to grab from, right? But for an international student, it was $85,000. So I never saw that amount of money at once in my life at all. So I said, well, we're doomed. We're screwed. I told my wife, let's go back to Brazil. She said, no, let's ask for an expansion of our tourist visa, which we did. We were approved. And then when it was like 30 days to go, and I had this very solid sentiment in my life, in my heart, in my mind, my wife as well, we were in agreement that we don't want to be here 1 second illegally. Because if I do that, I am going to blow all the plans that I have of studying here, of getting my master's and PhD. I don't want to do that. So we were somehow fixing our minds to pack and go back with our kids. I was introduced actually to the president of the Texas Pastors Council. He lives in Houston, a great guy, Pastor Dave Welch. He talked to me for half an hour. He already knew about our political hit job in Brazil. He said, let's apply for an asylum. So we applied for an asylum 3 months later because I had all the paperwork. I had everything. I had the fire brigade report. I had the police report. I had interviews that I gave in radios and local newspaper and television. It was like the talk of the day, the talk of the month in that area of my country. Of course, somebody just set a car of somebody else on fire, expecting that car to explode and kill everybody. So, yeah, that was what
was he one of Lula's minions or no?
He was one of the allied parties, but again, Lula was not in power that time. So it was a very local thing. It is a bit long story. I don't want to wear your audience down, but it was a long story. We were very engaged locally, and we found out big time corruption from that mayor's office. And then we started whistleblowing and calling the media and calling people around. And then we received a letter on our mailbox saying it was not handwritten. It was not typed and printed. It was like Hollywood movie, guys. I'm not kidding. I'm not lying to you. It was cut from newspapers and magazines, and they set the syllables and the words in place. And set up a letter. And this letter they cussed my wife. We were very engaged in the local school there. So she was the president of the PTA. I was the financial director of the PTA. It was just a volunteer work. We were helping our community as we always did. And we're doing here in Midland exactly the same. So the letter said, cussing her with names that I never heard in my entire life. And the last 2 lines were, leave the PTA or we will have your 2 sons killed.
Damn.
So that was, I said, I told my wife, I freaked out, of course. But she said, Eliel, this is just jealous people. I mean, let's just keep doing. And again, I talked to law enforcement, friends of mine. They said, Eliel, this is professional stuff. It was done with a pair of gloves because there is no fingerprint. He said, it is a professional thing. Can do for you. Change your routes, change everything, be triple safe now. Instead of just coming back to your home and parking the car in the garage, drive around 3 or 4 times before, take a look at what's going on around, and then you go in. And the reason for them to throw those Molotov cocktails in the car. I have the video of that, guys. I have the video.
Oh, yeah. Send me that. For sure.
So they sent it, and it's dark. It's 6:20 in the morning, and that explosion happens. They did that day because they were following us. Why? Because in the past night, just the night before, I had filled the tank of the car to the brink. They knew that. And if the tank had exploded, boom, everybody would be dead.
Everybody. Damn.
So thank God it didn't happen. The car was like total loss. The structure of the garage was of wood, made of wood. It just collapsed. So all of that was what brought us to America. But again, I did not come for an asylum. The asylum came as a secondary option later on. So this is why I know that many illegal immigrants that crossed our border in these 4 years of Biden, or in all the years prior, many of them have cases like mine. I know that. Now,
I was going to say, I would agree. I think a lot of people are just trying to look for a better life. I don't blame them. If I was in that situation, I think I'd do the same.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you. Do you fear for your life if you were to be sent back to Brazil, since Brazil's in total turmoil right now with the authoritarian Lula? Do you think your life would be at risk?
Especially now, John, that not only Lula is in power, but the party of this guy's still alive. He was an old guy, old-ish. Now he's still there. He hasn't died. He's still in the same place. That is where I built my entire life. Now, Brazil is huge. I got that question sometimes. Brazil is the 5th territory in the world. America is from California to New York, East Coast and West Coast. America is very big and large in the horizontal line. Brazil is like vertical.
Yeah.
So Brazil has 210 million. The population is 210 million today. So I could live somewhere else, but going back to Brazil would mean that my name would be again under government surveillance. My name probably is still there, and I don't even want to think about that, dream of going back to Brazil, unless I have no answer here in America. And this is why I'm going to say that many times. I'm so grateful that you guys are giving me this platform to tell Americans about my story. Number one, because of this, there is a risk. The risk is still there. Number two, it's because I love this country. I want to stay here. I mean, I'm a Texan at heart. I love this state.
And the best state too.
Yeah.
Long time, baby.
I want to stay here, but one thing that I really want to tell people out there is, whoever of you, if you are watching this video right now, if you know somebody that can help us, why? Because although we do need $25,000 now we're raising this money with friends. We need this money because we need to walk the technical process, meaning the attorney and USCIS, DHS, that needs to be done. Now, the second portion of this, the second option actually, is the political arena. If I can be able, with help from guys like you, to make this video, this story, to go out, and this video reaches Trump's orbit, somebody in Trump's orbit, a senator or a rep or somebody in Trump's orbit, Tom Homan or Kristi Noem, one of these guys, I know, guys, that we are, me, my wife, and my youngest son. He still lives with us. The other one went back to Brazil. He got married there. We have already our 2 grandbabies there. If somebody in Trump's orbit hears about our story, I want to tell that, not bragging. I am not bragging. I am just looking at reality. We are the types of immigrants that Trump wants in this nation. We are the poster children for the types of immigrants he wants here. In what sense? Meritocracy. I believe that everything that I have already done for America, these almost 9 years that we've been here, asylum, first tourists, then asylees, Now, green card, we applied for the green card process in 2020. We have already waited the 5-year legal span for the adjustment of status between asylum and green card. We were denied, but I believe that if Trump or somebody in his orbit would hear our case, they would know that we are the types of immigrants that this country needs. I want to serve this country. I want to love this nation. I want to build here. I want to create my business. I want to, for example, right now, I don't know if you guys know that, but asylees, for example, I am not covered by the Second Amendment. I cannot have a gun. I cannot purchase a gun. I cannot carry a gun. That is not something that covers me. Why? Because I'm not a citizen. So I want to be full-blown citizen so I can vote, so I can be voted. I want to serve as best as I can with all the capacities, with all the abilities and skills that God gave me and the opportunities that God opened to me to travel to countries of the world, things that I learned in my career. I want to bring to the table, and I want to help you guys to build this country. So for anybody out there that can help us, starting with you guys, John and Chris, and yeah, I know that you know people. And again, people say, well, I don't know anybody. Well, you always know somebody. Yeah, you always know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and this is how life works. So I plead with you, just help us in this process. And from now, and like in anticipation already, thank you so much. I am so grateful, guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We need more people like you here.
I do have a question. Are you like such a staunch Republican or conservative because I know Brazil. I mean, the last like 15 years, y'all have had a real close tie with China and stuff like that. Is it because of I'm pretty sure you would say like that whole woke ideology has really seeped in over there.
Oh yeah.
USAID already they had said already. I don't know if you know Mike Benz. He's the one that turned me on to USAID. Where like this was years ago where he was talking about it, and he had said like if USAID never existed, Lula would never be in power right now.
Bolsonaro would be reelected. Exactly.
Yeah, which is a fucking crazy thing to think about that. Yeah, I mean we are funding censorship campaigns all over the world, which is terrible. And is that how you got to the point where you're such a like Cubans as well? They're very conservative because they come from like a place that deals with it. Is that what it was, or like what got you into like conservatism and everything else? Like what was the backstory behind that?
What brought me to I believe that depending on your family structure and the place where you were born, the people that you are born around, how you grow up, how you're raised by your parents, what types of schools you go to. So let me tell you a little bit of Brazilian history. Brazil had, everybody calls back down there in Brazil, it was a military coup in 1964. It was not a coup. It was a moment when the military knew that Cuba was about to transform Brazil into a communist colony. And the military saw that, and they were backed by the United States military, CIA, all the way back there, 1964. They took power. What they promoted, actually, what they promised was, we are going to be in power for 6 months. 1964. I was born in 1967. So this is 3 years before I was born. We're going to promote in 6 months. We're going to promise you guys that we're going to fix this crap, this thing, put everything in order. And in these 6 months, we are going to have appointed military presidents. So no elections. They shut down the Supreme Court. They shut down the Congress. Because all the communist forces that brought us later on, Fidel Castro and Che Guevara and all of those crazy guys, they came a little bit later. But that coup was already happening, or that attempt of a coup. The coup was not a military coup; was an attempt of a communist coup of the country. Brazil has always been a very Catholic, Christian, conservative type of country. I mean, we love life, we love family, we loved our guns. We don't have them anymore, but we used to, right?
And beautiful women.
Yeah.
We have beautiful ladies.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah. In America, you do it too. And
And
anyway,
good MMA fighters too.
Oh, yeah,
Go
have
ahead.
some
Go ahead.
bull
I'm
riders.
really enjoying this rundown with history, but keep on going. Yeah. Sorry
so
about that.
okay, so 1964, the military takeover of that attempt coup happens. And then they say 6 months, we put a house in order, and we return the power to the people, and we're going to call for elections again, and the democratic system goes back to full force. The problem was the military people did not fulfill that promise. They were in power for 21 years.
Nobody
Now,
gives up power.
Yeah.
right,
Nobody ever
everybody
gives up.
loves power, of course.
The most
Now,
addicting
let me
thing in the
tell
world.
you why they were in power for 21 years. Of course, I don't agree with that. They should have kept their promise. But anyways, in 21 years, guys, between 1964 and 1985, when they give back the power for open elections again, the Brazilian nation never developed and thrived and prospered as much as it did in 20 years. Why? Because now under a military system, they align themselves with the values of the United States of America. Now they align with the principles of this book right here, the Constitution. So this is, I always show this is so easy to see. The Founders Bible and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, are documents that sit on biblical Christian principles. And on top of that, you can see the legislative body, the Capitol, and the White House, and the Supreme Court right there. The three branches of government, they stand on the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and Bill of Rights, but they all sit on biblical principles, Christianity. So that is all where this comes from. And again, I have a 12-hour class here on this very subject right here. But anyways, the military of Brazil aligned with American principles. And what happens when you align with capitalism? What happens when you align with small government? What happens when you align with rugged individualism? What happens when you align with the idea of self-governing? I am able to govern myself. I don't need the government to tell me what to do or not to do. Get off my way, right? This is the American way. This is Texas, by the way, right? Get off my way. Let me do my thing. Let me drive my own car. Stop charging me everything that I cannot even put boys and girls cannot put a lemonade stand in front of their homes because there's a law for that. Come on, right? Don't do that. So in 20 years, 2 decades, that's what the military people built in Brazil. Brazil became one of the 10 nations, top nations on the planet because of that. Now, when they are now about to give the country back, 1985, they're about to give the money back, the country back to the people. The last president, a general, he says, Brazil is not ready for this yet. We will do this because the people are asking for this, but Brazil is not ready yet. And as soon as we do this, probably we will have to fight and have a bloodshed in the future because communism is going to come back. It was like a prophecy. Look at Brazil right now, 50 years after they said that.
Yeah, Brazil is bad, man. I've been watching that quite a bit, just seeing, man, Lula was just like the worst thing that could happen to that country. And then
John,
he started attacking the Supreme Court. He started,
they took the guy out of jail and put him on a seat of the president of the Brazilian.
Yes, this is crazy.
Come on.
And would you? I don't know, because I've seen the protests. I've seen a lot of Brazilians that are totally against what's going on. Would you say from your perspective, would you say the attitudes there are more like are they just drinking the Kool-Aid like the way leftists are here, or would you say it's more like tensions flying because there's just such a divide? I mean, is it like similar to American kind of situation that we have now, or is it more? Are the people conservative and they're just don't have no voice? Because I know,
right?
Shit, I know they were going after Elon Musk like crazy.
Oh yeah, dude, they were going after him bad.
Of course. If you are a tyrant, you don't like people talking bad things about you, right? You don't like that. So,
where X is illegal out there, right? Am I correct?
The Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, he shut down X for the second time, actually.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is
yeah,
what. But now the difference is what Now Trump is the sheriff in town, and Elon Musk is his henchman. So there's no way
love
this
it.
thing is going to go in peace. You know, it's not going to be. Trump is going to do something. Everybody is waiting for, expecting the upcoming months, weeks and months. I mean, Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, he has been very explicit about what they did to Elon Musk there, and Brazilians that are here in America that they are persecuting there, shutting down social media, seizing passports, seizing bank accounts. They're arresting people left and right. The difference here, John, is the differences are so many. But let me just summarize here. Brazil has been under a, let me say that word. I was rethinking if I should say that, but that is what it is. It's the easiest way to explain. We had our 7th constitution approved, confirmed in 1988. This is 37 years ago. Okay. This constitution is the most communistic, socialistic constitution of the 7 constitutions that Brazil had in less than 150 years. So one thing that I teach here in my classes, Americans don't know that the United States of America is the only country in the world that has its original constitution in place, still in place. All the other countries of the world changed their constitutions at least an average 17 times.
What?
So,
And we're also the only country in the world that has freedom of speech.
I never knew about the
exactly,
Constitution.
enshrined into law.
Yes.
So
And
Brazil
Europe
had 7 constitutions in less than 150 years, and the 7th constitution is the most socialistic, communistic of them all. Our constitution right now is not only it's better only than Venezuela's and Cuba's. That's all.
Yeah, which is not a flex.
There you go. It's not a praise at all. So
Yeah.
the American Constitution not only is going to be 239 years old next year, or this year, it's September this year, but the American Constitution has only 27 amendments in almost 240 years. The Brazilian Constitution, the 7th Constitution of Brazil, that is less than 35 years old, has already 118 amendments. So you see how why is that? Because as if you put amendments there and you change the Constitution, it always goes one side, one way. What way? More power to the government, less power to the people. So what is different between Brazilians and us here? Brazilians don't have a Second Amendment. Brazilians do not have a First Amendment.
Yeah,
Brazilians do not have a 10th Amendment. What's the 10th Amendment? The 10th Amendment says that states can stop crazy legislation or executive orders coming from DC when that is not explicitly shown in the Constitution. So the 10th Amendment says anything that is not clearly in the American Constitution is up to the Constitution of the states. And if it is not on the Constitution of the state, it is up to the individual. It's up to the people. Brazil has none of that. So they are totally lost, and they will need the mighty and the power of the United States of America as they needed in 1964 in order to overcome this wave of socialism, communism right now, which I believe Trump is on this train. Trump is going to do something very massive about Brazil in the upcoming weeks and months.
Oh, he's just getting started. Yeah.
But I do agree. I mean, leftists, I mean, I've been seeing this argument for years. I mean, years and years. Because, you know, it's either is the Constitution absolute or is it a living document, you know? And the leftists always, it's a living document. And if it was up to, if leftists had unfettered power, there would be 100 fucking amendments.
Yes.
I mean, they would just write amendments every time because nobody wants to make the 28th Amendment, you know?
Right.
Like it's probably never going to happen. And
I agree.
And that's the thing. Like it's very, which the powers at be, you know, the checks and balances, are probably never going to allow that. And if leftists had their choice, they would have so many amendments because they believe the Constitution is a living document. That means it can change with the times. And, you know, if they had their fucking go at it, I mean, chicks with dicks would have just superiority.
Yes,
over
everything.
Yeah, it would
Everything.
have an amendment where you could just trans kids.
Yeah.
And which is one of the worst things. Also, yeah, I totally agree with that that fact of it. And it is wild that 100 something amendments. I did not know
That's-
that about your
Yeah.
So crazy.
118 amendments. And now, how can you obey 118 amendments? You don't even know. It's absolutely
Yeah, no.
impossible to. Okay, let me tell you something else about the Constitution. So not only it has the Brazilian Constitution, not only the 7th Brazilian Constitution in less than 150 years, and I need to emphasize that. So the 7th edition,
amendments.
That's insane.
118 amendments. Now, this Constitution from 1988, it has 64,800 words. You know how many words there are in the American original Constitution? 4,500 words. So it is easy, and it was the purpose of the founding fathers, or the framers of the Constitution, was it is something to be easy to understand, very clear, depict what roles each body of government is to take. In terms of the Congress, for example, the legislative branch, they even insert a word there that says enumerated powers, meaning those are your powers. For example, you don't have the power to mask everybody up. You cannot force anybody to take vaccines. It's not there. So when they tried to do this in these past 4 years, they absolutely violated everything about the Constitution. So this is what, as you guys said, this is what the lefties want. They want to pack the Supreme Court. Why? Because now you can transform, if there are laws that are passed in Congress that they don't like, they go to a Supreme Court. Instead of 9 justices, they go to a Supreme Court with 53, and then it's another legislative body. This is what they want, right?
Yeah,
It's not a judicial body at all. It's not to interpret the Constitution. It's just to confirm and reaffirm and ratify what they think it's right or wrong. So this is exactly, for example, the problem that we have in Brazil right now. The legislative body does not do anything. Everything needs to pass to the scrutiny of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, go this way, go this way. We are now the ones in power in Brazil. This cannot happen here. We cannot allow that to happen.
And that happened under. I mean, I am not a fan of this guy. I know everybody loves him, but FDR is the one that started all that bullshit with the New Deal. He was like, I can't get my way. It's unconstitutional. Fuck it, pack the courts.
Yes,
he tried to do it at the midnight hour. Was terrible. I'm under the impression he prolonged the whole Great Depression. But I also want to say it is true. I do think that, because in 2016, when you saw Trump win, you see a populist movement around the world. It's like a seismic wave that happens. It's a tidal wave that just goes completely around the all the continents. And I think that's what's going to happen this time again, because in 2016 you saw like a lot of you had Brexit, you had all kinds of the Italian, I forgot her name, it's been so long, but she was a very big conservative populist as well. And I mean, I would say out of my lifetime, Trump would have to be the biggest populist president we've ever had in our entire life.
Absolutely.
And yeah, you see it whatever happens in America, it affects all the countries, because like I said, I have close ties with Japan, and when Biden was president, dude, Japan has been going to shit. The yen is terrible right now. Like they've been in a very bad slump right now, and like I think it's gonna go back up, because Trump is like, I mean, he brings all that, that
He's a businessman.
Yeah, he's a businessman, and he's like, of course we're gonna
part
help
of the
ourselves,
deal.
but it's because it's like when every other country looks out for themselves, that's great, that's a leader. But when we look out for ourselves, we're assholes. It's like, how dare you look out for yourself? And it's like, yes, like, what do you mean? Like, we got to look out for ourselves. But also on that tip, I do also agree with, you can't just be isolationist, because that's not the world we live in anymore, especially with the internet and everything else, and trade and there's just too much. Like, you can't be, hey, we're going to just create our own fucking island and fuck off everybody else. So yeah, I do think Brazil might have some kind of a little revolution going on, and I'm sure there's some talks underground that none of us will ever know about. That would happen.
It's happening It's
I just hope
happening right now as we speak.
Yeah, and I
What
hope
Trump
the
has been
CIA is not
doing
behind
is
it because they fuck
right.
everything up that they do.
Oh, they topple governments, man.
And USAID probably would be funding the Lula's camp.
Oh
So
my
thank God
God.
that they're out. But yeah,
So far, they already found in Brazil. Elon Musk found in Brazil $262 million. That was
Yeah.
specifically for
Censorship.
election security. Come on. So
Yeah.
Trump is reshaping not only the United States of America. There's a guy. I follow this guy for many years now. He wrote many books. He's a historian and he is an economist. His name is Peter Zion. He's a professor at a university in Colorado. He is a leftist himself, but he is not the crazy, insane, with chicks with dicks. He's not that type of guy, right?
He's a 90s.
He's a JFK type of Democrat.
Yeah.
So he has his mind in place. He wrote a book, 2 years ago? He wrote a book before, of course, before Trump was reelected. He said, if Trump is elected again, globalism is over. Not in the sense that, as you said, not isolationism, but Trump is going to blow a trumpet, just no pun intended, to blow a trumpet across the globe that your nation is your treasure. Take care of your country. Yes, there are international relations. There are foreign affairs. There is no way for us to break that anymore. One of the things that he says in his book that massively consolidated what we call globalism today was the American Navy out there securing the oceans and the seas of the world so that countries would not be, the ships would not be sacked by Houthis or by whoever, pirates, right?
Yep.
So, by the way, I don't want to interrupt, but did you see Trump said he's going to really start with the shipbuilding?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That was an interesting take because it's like I think China has like 80%. Like, it's some outrageous number of ship making that they're doing.
Yeah, but they're restoring old ships. They're not building. There's a document on it. They're actually trying to restore a lot of the old ones.
Oh, you're talking about China?
Now there is.
I apologize. Go ahead.
No problem. You didn't cut at all. There is now a public information. It's public. I forgot the name of the guy and who he is related to. This guy is still in Congress. He's a senator. I don't want to say his name here, not because I am afraid of anything, but because I don't remember. I don't want to just mess up here.
I got you.
This guy was selling America's secrets on ships and on submarines to China, has been doing that for 15 years. Yeah. So China, everything China is building right now in terms of their Navy, it's pretty much American engineering. It's American, how do you call that when something is copyright? Oh, it's built in America, created in America. They are just copying and pasting because they are paying these guys the table billions of dollars for them to sell. Secret Cash Patel arrested 2 guys that are somehow connected with selling American secrets to other countries of the world. So this is going to come out. And again, I believe Trump is going to empower us. Trump is fixing to transform America and the world and he's fixing to shape up the remaining of the 21st century in terms of geopolitics, in terms of international affairs, in terms of commerce and of foreign commerce. Trump is going to reshape. If he is able to consolidate his plans to what he always talks about, right? Make America great again, America first. It doesn't mean that we're not going to do commerce and business with other countries of the world. It means that in every single step of the business process, of the international trade process, it will be America's interests first.
Yes. How would it benefit America if we do this? Yes.
Yeah, so if he does that,
Canada's getting mad that we want reciprocal trade.
Yes.
Those bastards. And they went down.
But it makes sense. I don't know why they don't do it.
I know, but it's
and Chris, you just said a big word here, which Trump said many times in his speech, inaugural speech. We are going to be the government of common sense. It's common sense, guys. It's common sense that we should not send $360 billion to a war in Ukraine that they cannot win. Now we know that arms AK-47s, guns that America sent to Ukraine ended up in the hands of Hamas.
Yep.
And Hamas used to kill Israelis on October 7th, 2023. I mean, they found out the connection between Ukraine and Hamas in the Middle East. So when Zelensky came here, he said, well, I don't know where half of that money is. My goodness, half of that money is $160 billion. How come you don't know where that money is? And again, we know, Elon Musk is finding it out through Doge. This is everywhere. It's in the pockets of people that go to the Congress in D.C. They are paid annual salary of $280,000, and all of a sudden they have $36 million. How you do that? I
they
mean,
got new yachts, and don't forget we funded 90% of their media,
NGOs, and all getting all
USAID all over the place.
They've been saying all those weapons are in the black market. It's just like when Obama did the Fast and the Furious.
There you go.
It all ended up in the hands of cartel members, which is like yay for us. Fucking terrible. Yeah, I did read that you turned yourself in. How did that go about? Did you discuss that with your wife? Whose decision was that? And did you feel pressure, or did you get like a subpoena, or how did that go down?
Okay. So I come back from DC on the 8th of January, 2 days later. They were already arresting people in DC, as I said. They were already arresting people around the country, people that they said participated, even being afar, like Enrique Tarrio. He was not even there, and he had already been, raided somewhere. So I come back. Somehow I knew that, it's a long story, and I'm going to tell you the whole story, but I knew that they were already hunting people down, not only in DC, but in all around the country. So I flew back from DC, connecting with a connection flight in Dallas, and I was somehow expecting to be arrested, if not at the Reagan Airport in DCA, or I would be arrested in Dallas, or I would be arrested in Midland. So that did not happen. I was somehow preparing myself psychologically, spiritually for that encounter. So much so that when I landed in Dallas, I called my wife and I said, so my son was supposed to pick me up at the airport here late at night. I said, ask him not to go, because if they arrest me in the Midland airport, I don't want him to see that. If they don't do that, I'll pick an Uber and I'll go back home. That's okay. Which happened. So I picked an Uber, came back home. Everything was okay. The very next day, we had a very serious conversation. I had a very serious conversation with my wife and my two sons. And the conversation that was absolutely necessary was specifically, of course, because I am not a citizen. And they said, Dad, you messed up. Like, probably we are going to now not going to get our green card or citizenship anymore, because everybody's saying that this is terrorism, that everybody's saying that this is, the felony, the 1512C felony that the Supreme Court overturned, that was going to land people in jail for 20 years. Specifically,
that must have been a shitty feeling.
That was in the article.
No, just thinking about, like, that must have been a shitty feeling, like your kid saying that. It's like, fuck, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm just thinking
They
of
said-
just the mindset of that.
You were given home arrest, weren't you? Or from what the article was written?
No. So this is in the sentencing, they asked for home arrest for 60 days. So let me go chronologically here. They talked to me, and I just said, guys, I'm so sorry. I really apologized. I remember I cried, I sobbed, not because of everything that had happened, but because I was like, potentially, I just messed everything up. I should not have done this. Anyways, so it was a good conversation. They accepted my apology. We are a good family. We're a very strong family, all four of us. We're very close to each other. There's this real commitment. So the next step that I took was I called law enforcement. This guy is one of my mentors here, Mark Peterson. He lives here in Midland, and he is one of our major supporters here at the ministry. But he's former law enforcement. He worked with the state law enforcement and also with the federal law enforcement. He's a brother in Christ. He's a friend. I called him and I said, Mark, I need to talk to you. He came over, dropped by, and we talked for half an hour, 40 minutes. And I said, Mark, my desire is to turn myself in. because these guys are already knocking doors down all around the country. I don't want them to terrorize my family. My family is terrorized enough by what I did. I don't want to add extra layer of terror to them. What Mark told me, he said, Eliel, don't call 1-800, FBI 1-800. He said, why? Because you never know who is going to pick up the line on the other side. You don't know who is going to answer that. So let's pray. Let's allow God to work here. You trust in your God. I trust in my God. Let's pray and let's allow God to work. So he prayed, and then he left. He said, if you need anything, let me know. I know people. But again, let's see how things develop from now on. Half an hour later, after that prayer, another friend of mine called me, and I went. He is another mentor, but this guy is more an academic mentor. I translated some of his books. So he's a guy. He is a oil business coach here in the Permian Basin. We've been working together for a long time. He calls me, and I was talking to him, and I said, Herman, I would like to turn myself into the FBI. And he asked me why. I said, man, because if they're hunting people down as a non-citizen, I want to prove to the government that I am not a terrorist. Because if I don't do that and they come after me, probably they will say that I was hiding, that I was fleeing, and I don't want any of that.
Very smart move, by the way.
Yeah, that is
very smart.
Yeah, because they would have paid you very negative on that part if you
right.
didn't.
Yeah.
So what he said was, okay, so he is one of the elders in his church, and he said, Eliel, one of the elders of my church, he is an FBI agent. And this guy lives in Midland. And do you want to talk to him? And I said, my goodness. I mean, my friend had just prayed and God answered the prayer like this half an hour later. And he calls the guy, he puts on the speaker. And I said, sir, I was there. This happened. I want to talk to you about what happened there. And then he said, come over. So I went there. He talked to the FBI agent with another guy. So they are always two talking to you. They interviewed me for 2.5 hours. And I started by telling him the following lines. I said, I am here not to put the blame on Trump. I am not here to blame Mike Pence. I am not here to blame whoever. I am here to take responsibility for what I did and what you guys believe that I did that was wrong. I'm here to take responsibility for my actions, not anybody else's actions. So I told them the whole story, and he said, go home. So they released me because he said, there are no indictments yet. I have nothing against you. But he said, don't go anywhere. Stay in town. If you need to go somewhere, just let us know. He said, no, I'm not going to go anywhere. Here's my number, my cell phone number. You can call me anytime. Here's where I live. 3 days later, they call me. And now I go back. They say, well, now there are indictments, 4 misdemeanors and 2 felonies. And now they say, now you need a lawyer. So again, I'm telling you that because I was not treated like American citizens were. I was treated like a human being. I was treated as somebody, and which is said to me, John and Chris, is probably that I was dealt with that way because I was an immigrant. I was dealt with much more respect than Jeremy Brown was, than Luke Coffey and Jake Lang and Ryan Semso, all of these people. So they are talking to me. They say, you need a lawyer now. So they stopped the interview right there. They read my Miranda rights and they stopped the interview right there. And then I just was waiting for a car to drive me from the FBI building to the federal building with the judge. And I was handed by them. So I was 2 hours with the FBI, 5 hours with the U.S. Marshals, who also treated me very well. Then I was hauled to the judge, to the court. I mean, handcuffed, hands and waist and ankles, just like a criminal. Media was there, of course. So the judge released me under a PR bond. Because he knew, everything. They knew everything about myself, about what I did in the community. I'm very engaged, as I told you guys. I'm super engaged in the local level. I go to every single one of the public hearings at the city council, city hall. I'm very active locally. I have the school. I go to churches. I minister not only the word of God, but I deliver lectures on the Constitution. other activities that we have here. So after that, shortening the story, I had 6 hearings, Zoom calls with the judge, Trevor McFadden in DC, via Zoom. I could not pay. Of course, I couldn't afford to pay a lawyer. I was given a public defender from DC. This lady worked very well for me. She helped me a lot, like super help, Miss Peterson. And October 12th, 2021 was my sentencing day. I signed a plea deal on July 29th, 2021, and my sentencing day was on October 12th in DC. So I flew to DC. That was the first time that I knew that I was a quad S. 4 S's on your tickets, meaning that you are pretty much Osama bin Laden to the security of airports.
Oh wow!
So with that,
so can you explain that real fast? Because I want to know more.
I've never heard of that.
What is it's quad SSSS?
It's called SSSS, and you have that on your paper ticket.
Okay,
and then when you
at least it's 4 S's. I thought 3. I was like, damn, we're getting Nazi. Right. Okay, go for it. I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. But go ahead.
No, bro. So I knew already that what was going to happen, and then as soon as they saw that, guys, TSA, just 4 guys just swarmed me. So they surrounded me. They put me in the corner of the TSA area. And this is public shaming. This is intentional.
Yep.
They pat me in my soul, every single inch of my body, top to bottom, because I'm a quad S. Quad S is related to highly dangerous terrorists. And of course, that was the narrative, right? We are terrorists. So they put me in the corner, and then 3 guys surrounded me. One guy was patting me down from top to bottom, and the other guy was just ransacking, and he turned my bag and my backpack upside down and inside out. They took everything out. I was there.
You were flying to DC to go get sentenced, right? I just wanted to make that clear. Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
Sorry
sir.
About that. I was kind of confused for a second, but okay. So
that was the moment. I was on the corner. They did not let me go for 2.5 hours. There was nothing anymore that they could pat or seek for, look for, but they were talking to me all the time, and they were passing those chemicals on my hands, applying those counter reactive chemicals to see if I had bombs, and then on my inside and underwear, everything in front of everybody. So when I finally get in, guys that had seen me undergo that shame came to me and said, "What's going on? Why did they do that to you?" Is that these guys said, "I never saw that before." And I said, "Guys, I am a J6er. I'm a terrorist." And everybody was like, "Oh my God." So again, now let me tell you what happened. That happened here in Midland. When I get to my connecting flight in Dallas, all over again, now at the gate, with hundreds of people from in other gates looking at that scene, right? When I get to DC, I am disembarking. I'm unboarding. For the 3rd time, that is done again. So this happened. At least, guys, I can tell you that happened only to me. Because every single J6er that traveled with their wives or children or father or grandfather, the whole family, because of that guy, was exposed to that abuse everywhere around the country.
Wow.
I do want to say, I'm surprised they went up to you, because I'm not going to lie. If I saw a guy get patted down like that, the last thing I do is want to talk to that guy. I'd be like, dude, who is that?
Nah, I think I would be more curious. I think I would have been one to be like,
no, but if you're seeing that, I mean, I'd be like, dude, that dude's probably something's going on, dude. I don't want to get involved in that shit, because you know airports, bro. Like, they have cameras everywhere.
Yes.
And if they see you talking to somebody that's getting pat down like that, they're probably gonna think, are they associated or
I agree.
Guilty by
association?
Yeah.
Yep,
So
I agree.
That is wild as shit. That's crazy. So, and did you explain to them like, hey, I'm just trying to go to my court date for the
Yes.
shit that you're patting me
Well,
down for?
they knew that.
Okay, so
So
it was
South,
public shaming then, 100%.
yes, the
Right.
first line of security was Southwest itself. So I was flying Southwest that day, and I had to undergo that first hurdle with Southwest. The Southwest high-level security manager of the airport came to the counter, and he had to type some numbers to allow me to go through. And the second step was TSA. So all of that happened. I go to DC. I'm sentenced that day. And I repeat myself, and I have already shared that before. The judge looks at me and he said, 27 years on the bench, I never saw anybody turning themselves in 2 days into the thing, or whatever that was, before even the indictments were out. I never saw anybody quote, because I quoted to him Federalist Paper number 51, when our founding father, James Madison, says, if men were angels, no government would be necessary. And I told him, Your Honor, I said, Your Honor, I'm not an angel. I made a mistake, and I submit to whatever your verdict is. I'm here to submit to it. So he gave me a lot of credit for that. Then, Chris, the prosecution looked at the judge, and he said, and the lady said, very young girl, she said, Judge, he needs to go to jail because he knew all that was going on. Yes, I can say without any doubt that he did not engage in any violence. Yes, it's on video. He was a peaceful guy, but he knew what was going on. He should have gone back and turned 180, went back to the hotel. He never did that. So put him in jail for 2 months. And the judge said no. So put him in home confinement for 2 months. The judge said no. And then they said, well, at least 2 years of probation. The judge said no. So he gave me 1 year, and he said, I'm giving you 1 year probation so you have enough time to pay the 100 hours of community service, which I paid. So that was October 12th. I paid the remaining time of the month of October 2021, and then November and December, and I paid my 100 hours. Serving.
Was that the federal prosecutor, the young lady you're talking about?
Yes, federal prosecutor
Okay.
from DOJ, which Trump fired. Every single one of the prosecutors.
Good. Yes.
Every single one of the prosecutors of J6ers were fired by Trump. Not only his prosecutors, but every single one of the 1,572 cases that were brought to court, the circuit court in DC. So
when you were in court, were they showing you the videos when you were walking in or walking out of the Capitol?
No, sir. That happened throughout the hearings that were done via Zoom. 6 meetings via Zoom, 6 hearings, and they showed the videos, they showed the photos, so there was nothing. They knew that there was nothing there. This is why I told you guys that my mind was so much focused, like 100% laser focused on the immigration arena, because I knew that in terms of the criminal aspects of everything, they had it all. They knew that I had not messed up in terms of engaging in violence. I didn't do anything. I was praying with people inside of the rotunda. I was picking trash on the floor. I was talking to folks. I was taking pictures. I was just doing what you saw in the videos, the peaceful guys, right? So
I do have a question. That
yes, sir.
That you got, was that sedition as well, that a lot of people were getting that the Supreme Court eventually overturned? So what were the 2 felonies? It was sedition, and what was the other one?
So it was sedition and interference with a joint session of Congress.
Yes, that was the one. Okay, that's
so this is 20-year jail.
20 years plus, right? Yeah.
Right?
That's
wow. Guys, if you remember that, it was exactly because of 1512C, that law used with the Enron case back in the day.
That's the one that all the J6ers have explained.
Right. That the Supreme Court overturned because of the 1512C. That was exactly why Matthew Perna committed suicide. That was the reason for 5 guys to commit suicide when they knew that they were going to potentially be in jail for 20 years. They could not stand it. They could not, deal with that. They committed suicide. So we're talking.
I was just gonna say, I do want to. Sorry to interrupt, but I do want to just get your feelings on how did you feel when you were arrested with the shackles and everything, and the media's just all over you? Because I know this is the first time you've been in trouble. So I just want to know, in mindset wise, what was going on in your mind? How did that feel?
It's hard to deal with that. I mean, it's being 4 years now. But that is something that, again, the many things in our lives, Chris and John, that you will never forget. I will never forget that. It's a perp walk. It is a shaming that is made public. When I came to the judge, for example, I was not able to. The chain was so short that I was not able to sign. I had to go to a shorter table so I could lean over it because I could not move my hands. That is not something that you forget. I will never forget that in my whole life. It is
How did
not
you-
comfortable to talk about that. And but again, I know that's the protocol. I know the judge knew that I was not going to go anywhere, run anywhere. But again, it's protocol. I understand that. But the impacts, the emotional impacts of that, the psychological impacts of that, guys, it is not fun at all. It is super deep.
How did you mentally prepare yourself for that? Because if it was me, I would have been calling everyone for help. Like I wouldn't even know how to prepare for something like this.
I've been arrested a good amount of times, and I know that feeling. But I've never been arrested to where it's like a national case,
Like
where
having to fly to-
media's like there,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I could just, that's why I always said
FBI, U.S. Marshals, flying to D.C. What did you do to mentally prepare yourself for that moment right there to plead your deal? Like,
Yeah, there's no way you can prepare. You can just, so what I did was, because other folks were already undergoing that process, they would, or their attorneys would do that. Just say, guys, this is going to happen. The quad S means this. Watch this video. Be prepared. You're going to be in the, you have to arrive. For example, one thing that I could not do, and I usually did, probably you guys do that as well. When you go to the airport, instead of going 2 hours earlier, you check in 24 hours earlier, right? I was not able to do that because my name was blocked. I could not pre-check. So I had to airport 3 hours earlier, and I still I did not miss my flight, but many J6ers did, and they did that on purpose for them to miss flights. It is part, as we J6ers repeated over and over and over again, the punishment is the process, or the process is the punishment. Yeah. Since they could not kill anybody, assassinate anybody, or put anybody on the wall, against the wall, and shoot anybody, the process was extenuating. It was just shaming. It was shameful. The process was just, these guys are, and again, as you just pointed out, Chris, it's in the media everywhere in the country. These guys are terrorists, right? Yeah, so I come back to Midland, and when I am out of jail, one of the things that I should not forget, and I don't want to let this go, my wife did not know where I was. When the FBI picks me up and says, now you are going to be detained and then submitted to the marshals and then to the judge, my wife did not know where I was. She was driving around with my son like crazy and asking people around where, I mean, this happened, what happened? Oh, he was in DC. Oh, probably there. So they drove around like crazy. So all of that piles on. It accumulates to a moment that I had many days in these 4 years, guys, that I had nightmares, like waking up like movies, Hollywood movies, sweating crazy, and dreaming that the FBI is knocking my door down, or killing the dog, or handcuffing 12-year-old kids, as they did. They handcuffed a 12-year-old girl in 21 Fahrenheit temperatures in a city. I mean, what happened with Americans out there, guys, I always say this.
Can you elaborate on that story? I don't know that story. What is that? I'm sorry.
So they came for her father. Her father is a big guy. He's much taller than I am. I am 6'1". The guy was 6'2". He's very tall, but very strong. He is a veteran. He served, I think it was in the Marines. So he is a security guy in his church. He's one of the elders of his church in California. And he tells his story. I'm telling you the story because it's public. It's in one of the documentaries about January 6th that is out there by Nick Searcy. And Nick interviewed this guy. and he's just talking to Nick about what happened that night. And he had videos. What videos? The videos from the cameras of his neighbors. So 6:30 in the morning, they are just 12, 13, 14 guys with heavily armed, with that truck, that armored truck, and with this megaphone. Get out, Eliel Rosa. Get out. That never happened with me because I turned myself in. Now, think about that. Eliel Rosa come out, for all the neighborhoods to wake up and see.
Yeah.
And then they before handcuffing him, they woke his daughter up, and his daughter, of course, freaked out. 12 years old. She was in her pajamas, and they brought her out in 21 Fahrenheit degree, and they thought that it was necessary for them to handcuff her before they handcuffed her dad. So there are story after story after story
I never
of
heard
abuse
that
out
story.
there.
That's
That's
tough.
ugly. Yeah.
Oh man.
So I have here.
I didn't hear
No, it's not here. It's on my library. I have 4 documentaries, and this is in one of the documentaries. They arrested twin sisters that went inside of the Capitol and came out, and they lived here, I think, in the metropolitan area of Texas, of Dallas, Metro Dallas. These ladies are, I think back then in 2021, they were 74 years old. 2 America-loving patriots, parts of the Republican Party there, super loving ladies in the community. They handcuffed both of them. They gave them 60 days in jail. And then something happened that they allowed them to go earlier back home, but they went to jail.
Yeah.
So we're talking about abuse and over abuse. And what I want to say is, I did not have any of that. One thing that you read about the stories of the J6ers is how their city, their families. I mean, we have a guy here in McKinley. Is it McKinley or Arlington? Also in the Dallas area.
Yeah, Arlington.
The 18-year.
I don't know much of Dallas.
It's around. It's one of the smaller
Yeah,
towns.
very
in Dallas.
small. It's very close to Arlington. So this guy, 18-year-old son to a J6er, Guy Reffitt. This guy, this guy, 18 years old, his son allowed the FBI to wiretap him to record his dad.
Yes. Okay. That's
Remember that?
Yes. Okay. So I interviewed Cash Kelly.
Cash Kelly.
Yeah, I interviewed Cash Kelly, and he was locked up with the dad, and he was saying, and he gave a message to the son. So that's why I know that name. I was like, I know that fucking name.
Yep.
Yeah, that is terrible, man. Just breaking up.
So
families.
can
And
you
that's what Mao
imagine?
did in China? Tear the family apart. The poor old, and it's Marxism. That's what it is.
It is absolutely Gestapo. This is Nazism. This is what Hitler did so many times in Germany. So you have children denouncing or turning in their parents. You have grandparents turning their grandchildren. You had families split. You had guys that lost everything. And I'm telling all of that to say that although my process, guys, was very tough because I'm not an American citizen, but the toughness that it was for me, I cannot in a sound mind compare my case with any of the J6ers out there, because for some reason, I think I know why. I think it's because I'm an immigrant, and there's this, they blurred the lines between what citizenship and immigration is. So they dealt with me much lighter than they did with Americans, especially the Americans that had served, our veterans.
Armed forces.
So honorably serving the nation and defending the country. They come back for that. So in my case, I don't compare. I am not complaining. I am just saying that these guys suffered much more than I did, because I knew that my big mountain to climb would be the immigration one, which is happening right now. So I recognize that, as you asked me, John, my city embraced us. Midland, Odessa, Andrews. These are places that I I have been actively engaged with these 3 cities, especially these 3, but also Stanton, Alpine, pastors, school principals. People know me. People know the ministry. People know my wife. People knew my children. They know our lives. For many, of course, some people were shocked, and out of the financial supports that we have for the ministry, 80% of that support vanished overnight. So this is why I have to try to find a job. And then a guy that I want to say his name because I want to honor him, Jeff Russell. He is the local small businessman here. He owns a business for carpet and paint and flooring. He said, Eliel, I know that you never sold anything in your life. I know that's not what I need from you. But I am bringing a new product to town, and you have wonderful communication skills. I would like to hire you to help you in your process so you can feed your family, pay your bills until things get back to normal somehow. And he gave me a job, guys, that he created a job for me. That's my point.
That's awesome.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I do.
Oh, man,
that's awesome that he did that.
I have an explosive heart of gratefulness for this community, guys. Again, I was telling you guys off air, we would open the door in the morning. There was a basket of food, a basket of rice, of beans, of other types of food, checks, $100 checks, $1,000 checks. And there was once that we received a $15,000 checks that we were able to cover 6 months of our rent here. So this community
awesome.
embraced us. Our son, he was still in high school. What high schoolers do? They mock, they harass, they abuse, they bully. He never had a bully moment. He was never harassed, never abused. And they knew exactly that. That guy on the television every night on the newspaper, that was me. So that school embraced my son. So John and Chris, I want to express to your audience how grateful I am, my wife is, my son is, for this small community here. We went to places here after 3 months. So for 3 months, I was afraid of going out. I was really shaken to my core because my name was out there there was a term under my name, terrorist.
Yeah.
Well, I was afraid. 3 months.
Yeah.
Later,
I mean, anybody in their right mind would be afraid.
Well,
And I do want to say to people that are not from Texas, Midland is a conservative fucking place too.
Oh,
right?
yes.
It's very conservative. So it is awesome that you are there and have that kind of community. Because if one thing conservatives do, they really embrace a community.
Absolutely,
they're really involved with that too.
And that's great. Unfortunately, like you said, a lot of people that are in Boston, or we've interviewed people in different areas. Yeah,
they were
like
terrorized.
Yeah, they're gonna
people will be amazed how humble some of these small towns in Texas are. How very humble it is.
But
you want to know America? You guys know that I'm talking about. You want to know the real America? Come to the heart of Texas, heartland of the nation. I traveled a lot also to other states. This is the American people, compassionate, generous. They understand pain, they understand suffering, and they can relate. So this is why I believe that we were embraced and sheltered. We know you guys. We know you.
I'm sure most of the people agreed with you too. Yeah. But because for people that don't know, again, Midland is oil. That's oil town.
That's an oil field town. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where you go and make money.
Yeah.
And that is great. I'm glad to hear. I the only thing I know about, I know a little bit about Midland. I've been there a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that's where a lot of my friends would go and work for a couple months and get a lot of money, come back home. Yep. And that's awesome that the people in Midland, shout out to you motherfuckers out there. It's great that y'all embraced and not judge without full context.
Yes.
Because if anything the media can do, they can spin something, they can make you a hero or villain. And
real quick, yeah.
And so
people would come to me and they would say, we know you, we trust you. That word, guys, that sentence right there broke my heart every single time. And I have to care here because I'm getting emotional already. People would look in my eyes and say, Eliel, we trust you, we know you. So that meant the world to us, because now it's not anymore the criminal aspect of everything. It now has to do with the relationship. Can you guys from my city Do you guys believe me when I say I am not a terrorist, not an insurrectionist, that I did not want to overthrow the government? Do you believe me? Yes, we believe you. Don't worry. We believe you. So with time, God brought other friends so that those 80% of people went away, others came. And here we are. We keep doing God's work here locally and engaging. And I worked in 3 very, very active and very intense campaigns in the local level, too. At-large council members, and one for the mayor of Odessa. So I'm very active, and everybody knows me. I'm on the radio all the time. I'm on the city hall, city council hearing every single day. I don't go if I cannot be there, but I go to the microphone and I engage. Guys, thank you so much for this that you're doing. Look, this thing here that you are about to vote, we don't like that. We don't. So I am very engaged, and this, of course, brought a different type of perspective from Midlanders and Odessans, especially these 2 cities that are sister cities, concerning me, my family. And so I want to express here in your show how deeply grateful I am. I will be, there's no money in the world that can pay what these guys did for us. So Midland, Odessa, thank you very much.
Shout out. Hell yeah.
That's awesome. I do want to say, because we're in a sanctuary city, unfortunately, so it's not the same. But I do want you to say your ad. I don't know if it was a GoFundMe or if you could go ahead. I'm gonna link it in the video below. So please, anybody that feels that Eliel, you want to donate to Eliel in any way, please kind of explain where they can do that.
So I should have taken note of it. So this is why I sent it to you, so you can add to the description of the video. But
we will.
I think it is GiveSendGo.com/Citizenship USA. I think it is Citizenship USA, or you can find it just on the search bar, Eliel Rosa, Eliel Rosa, Rosa. You can find me there on GiveSendMe. But again, Chris, John is going to edit there. So what is this about? This is about the $25,000 that we need for the attorney and the American government, USCIS pretty much fees, and $4,000 of that is medical exams. And here in Midland, I don't know, John, you can tell me if what you paid for your wife is different from what we paid here. Is it $2,000 per head? It's $2,000 per medical exam for each one in our family. So this is why we spent.
We paid. I think total it was about probably like 5 to 6.
Oh my God.
Like I'm talking like, yeah, it was a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Luckily, because at the time I only had one kid, so my kid gets dual citizenship. Right. So he doesn't have to worry about nothing. We just have to go to the embassy in Osaka, because I was living in Japan at that time. So, so I used to teach English overseas for like about like 9-10 years. Yeah, I was in Thailand. I went to Cambodia for a bit.
That's
and then I was
amazing.
Yeah, so we both have a background in education, and I'm sure we could talk. Have you taught like at like schools, or is this more like
No. Like, the school of government is just a ministry that works here.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
This is a place. This is my office at my home. This is where I record my podcast. Where we used to, I don't anymore. Yeah. So, but this is
get
our
back
home.
On it, man. You have a good story.
I will. I'm fixing to write a storybook about that too.
That's awesome.
And my purpose is, I want people to know my story for one reason only. Not only, but the most important reason is I want to tell America how beautiful this country is, how beautiful the people in this country is, how we were blessed by coming to Midland, and everything happened as we were living here. And there's a backstory here that I did not tell you guys. We were supposed to be in the East Coast. That was where my PhD was going to happen. If we were there, I would probably not be talking to you today here.
No, yeah.
So yeah, I want to tell them my story. And I want to become a citizen of this country. I want to contribute more. I want to not only be able to vote, as I insist and try to convince people to engage in that, but I want to be voted. Why? Because I want to serve my city. I want to serve my county. I want to serve it. God allows me, my state, my country. I want that because this is in my heart. This country has blessed my country, Brazil, in ways that Americans would never know. I told you a little bit of the story today. So I want to bring that back. I want to engage. And most of all, I want to be part of this family. I told the judge on my speech to the judge that day on October 12th, 2021, I told him in my speech, this is the country where I want to die and where I want my body to lay rest, to lay rest, right? To be laid.
Yeah.
So because everything that this country believes, everything Texas believes in, right? This big republic of Texas, this pride of being a Texan, of being American, all of that I am, even before I came. So this is a political decision right now, as I have been repeating over and over again in several different podcasts, guys. I am, this is, until somebody proves me wrong, I am a stroke of a pen away from my citizenship, our citizenship. Why? Because our case right now is not immigration anymore. It's not constitutional or legal. It's political. Our visa was denied for political purposes or reasons, right? And if one politician, if somebody embraces our case, reads about our case, sees about us, I can talk to anybody out there. Just tell me where to go, who to talk to. I will be there. I believe that can be something that can just be a leverage and open this door for us to become part of the American family. So I want to express my gratefulness to you guys, John and Chris. Thank you so much for the time that you made available. The drive of 50-minute drive that you guys had to traffic jam just to talk to me. I feel flattered, John. I feel flattered.
No, we're actually happy they came on.
Absolutely,
you will be our sixth, I believe, J6 that we've interviewed, and it just blows my mind. Just the different stories. So I love stories, even if you weren't a J6er, just the story that you're talking about with your car blowing up. I just love stories, man. I love watching movies. I love dramas. I love reading everything about it. That's why I love history. I love stories, and I love to hear everybody has their trials and tribulations, hurdles they have to go jump over, and it's great to hear because a lot of times you might help people that you never know, and it's like what you said, right? With America, a lot of people, and me myself too. And so I moved out of America. I never really realized, I get it now. Because I mean, a lot of places don't have the same.
Yep.
I mean, we have that rebellious nature. We have that, that individualism. And I lived in Japan for a long time. Individualism is not a thing in Japan.
Nope,
it's
all.
Conformity. That's all it is. And just
the collective mind. Yes.
And Thailand's the same. It's like, this is what's popular. Everybody needs to just go in this. And then I used to tell people, students, when I was teaching out there, I'd be like, just be yourself. And they'd be like, oh, I'm weird. They tell me in their language. I'd be like, weird's good. I grew up in the, I have a tattoo that says too weird to live, too rare to die, from Hunter S. Thompson, one of my favorite writers of all time, Gonzo writing. I love that. I love that shit. And a lot of people don't embrace that, just that, we knocked off one of the biggest world powers, Canada's over there trying to talk at the same talk, but it's like, you have the queen on your money. Shut the fuck up. You don't have the same rebellious nature that we do. And to some extent, it is our downfall because, I mean, people get too cocky, and I understand that. Like I said, when you leave America, you realize why people want to strive to come here. But there's just little things I hope we can fix.
We fixed a lot on November the 5th, 2024. We fixed a lot in that election.
We've been in
now. We fixed a lot. Trump fixed a lot on day one. I mean, the first thing was January 6ers and something about the January 6th process that probably you guys are going to be hearing and watching as it develops. And there's nothing written on stone yet, but this is being developed. Trump promised the pardons, but he also brought to the table two other steps. The second step is what I believe it's still lacking because Trump has been he's president now. He's been in the White House, in the Oval Office for over almost 50 days now. what he promised was retribution, right? People going to jail. We need to see people going to jail,
I
or
totally fucking agree.
we
Absolutely.
need to see people going to jail. We need to see people being perp walked. We need to see people going to DOJ. We need to see people being in front of a judge. Because not only because of J6, because of a lot of stuff
No,
that
there's
happened.
so much.
Oh, there's
I
so
mean,
much.
Okay,
the-
Chris
the-
tells
the-
me
the-
I'm kind of crazy for wanting this.
No,
Yeah.
You always tell me just wait, and I'm like, no.
I've always agreed, but I've always told John, like, because everyone thought from day one Trump was going to start, Trump was going to get everyone in office and get everyone arrested. I'm like, I
There's
mean,
so much
Pam
evidence
Bondi,
there.
like it's like Elon. I think Elon Musk said it best on the Joe Rogan podcast. It's like everyone's like how Cash Patel and Pam Bondi said on day one, I'm going to do this, and Elon Musk said you got the director of the you got the AG, you got the director of FBI. They are both like captains of a ship who have
Yes.
a whole ship that's against them.
Yeah.
So they have to solve that before they start, committing to the promises. And I think they're going to commit to the promises. It's just we're in the first step right here,
Yeah, it is super fresh. It's 40-ish days, 50 days, okay.
and they've done a lot.
I believe that we should give them a couple of months of tolerance. I think things are going to happen. So, first pardons, second retributions, and the third one, which is in the making, and this is behind the scenes. Nobody knows yet. I don't know. I just know that it's going on now because I have some sources in DC that, close friends that are very close, higher ups there in DC. There is a process being worked up right now for J6 families that lost everything, which is the financial restitution.
Yes.
So those three steps were the three-legged stool or structure that Trump has built. He actually promised that he was going to build on pardons, retribution, restitution. So let's hope for that. Let's keep their feet to the fire, because this is something that, oh my God, so many American families need that. As we were just talking about, families lost, Chris, everything. They cannot be hired by anybody. Even after the pardons, nobody want to hire these people. No, there's no way for them to rebuild. There's a doctor. The guy is a medical doctor, and he is pleading the president to help him because he lost his medical certification because of J6. He's not a lawyer. He's not a medical doctor anymore. Other lawyers lost their attorney certification. So they lost a lot. People lost all of their possibilities of making, being bread making, of having money to pay bills, to live, to eat, to sustain their families.
Yeah,
so
like
this is in the making right now as well.
Yeah, since when John started headlining this J6 series, we started talking to all these J6ers, and like including yourself, and like our main goal is to getting their stories out, to let people know that it wasn't criminals that infiltrated the Capitol. It was just patriots, American loving people who just in the wrong place at the wrong time. What happened was unfortunate, but people lost so much stuff, and
Everything.
thank God, like the universe is tilting for them. They're getting their lives back, but people don't know the stories behind what happened to these people who in prison for years, like Jessica, Tim, and all them were 4 years, and they lost everything. And Cash Kelly got his life back. He's getting everything back, and Jessica's getting her life back.
And again, Chris, weeks in solitary confinement. The diesel therapy.
The diesel therapy is crazy.
Ryan Samso, for example, they broke 3 ribs of the guy by beating him. They cracked his brain to a point that his eye popped out.
I saw that.
They did not allow. Forgot his name. I should not forget his name, but I did. He had stage 2 or 3 cancer. They did not give him the medication he needed. So there's a lot of suffering, like super deep, intense suffering that needs to be accounted for and needs to be restituted to these guys because they lost. If Trump does not help these people, guys, I don't even know how they are going to survive the remaining of their lives, because they lost absolutely everything. So let us pray and hope that is a reality soon.
I hope so too. And I do want to say, I don't know if you know that journalist Paulo Figueiredo.
Yes, it's my personal friend.
So Okay, I want you to elaborate on that in a second. But I've seen him on Crowder a few times, and him and his partner, I forgot his partner's name. I know Lula.
Oh, he
fucking
has
hates them.
different partners.
There's one. I'll have to find it.
Okay.
But I remember he had said something on Crowder the other day, and I've been saying it ever since because I was like, "Damn, that's pretty interesting." And I've been telling Chris about it. He had said in Brazil that same thing happened where they started to expose the corruption.
Yep.
But the one thing is they didn't do any arrest. So
Right.
like what we were talking about earlier, and he was saying, America, if you're gonna expose the corruption and have zero arrest, all it's gonna do is when the next dictator in the next 4 years, right? Because that's what it's becoming with executive orders, right? I'm not a fan of that, and I know Trump's doing
I agree.
executive orders that's giving people more power,
Yep.
but executives should not be that powerful. Like you just
Agree.
executive order. I'm not a fan,
I agree.
especially as a student of history. You know, it's like and again, FDR, that fucking prick.
Yeah, they crossed the line.
Yeah, he's, I mean, yes, it's gotten to the point. Is like, so why even have three branches if you're just gonna do executive orders? Like,
Right.
you know, every 4 years we have a new fucking leader, and then we just shift and shift.
Yeah, they
But
start
anyways,
signing and changing everything.
yeah. Well, the thing is, the one thing I wanted to say is, he said, if you're gonna if you're gonna expose all this corruption and have zero arrests, all that's gonna happen is when the next person gets in, they're gonna come at you 10 times harder, and that's what Lula did.
Yeah.
I mean, like the whole situation with that.
Yep.
And I don't know. I want to get your take on that. What do you have to say? About that?
Absolutely. That is what tyrants, as you just said, one thing that history teaches us, and again, as Winston Churchill said, if you don't learn from history, you tend to repeat it. You will repeat it. You need to understand that tyrants cannot stop themselves. They have to be stopped. How do you stop a tyrant? Being more than a bully than he is. You had to
Brute
hit.
force.
Yes, you had
Damn
to
brute
hit
force.
the nose, break the nose, make him bleed, then he stops, and now he knows that there is a brute force in front of him. Trump is like that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But
there's
again-
only one language they speak, and it's
Right.
That's
the only one.
alpha. You know,
Language is
it's all
violence. For tyrants, that language is violence. So if Trump does not do that, not only it's going to send a wrong message of justice to the world, the pardon sent a message to the world, a resounding message that this country deals well and corrects the course for Americans, for citizens that were victims of abuse of power, abuse of justice. Now, that is not all. If that is all the message, it is going to send a message to the world where, well, yeah, they pardon everybody. Very good. Let's applaud. And that's it. Now, when people start going to jail, when they start, not, for example, the SDNY yesterday, the guy that
I know.
Pam
And
Bondi said,
he got a parade. It was like, really? We're doing a parade? for
Really?
this prick?
I mean, are we going to do this? This is, and nobody, and Pam Bondi is not going to arrest this guy. Cash Patel is not going to arrest this guy. So he is
That's what I
going,
said.
what I read, John, is that guy resigned and he's going to have a year back pay. He's going to be paid for a year.
Yeah.
So come on. So that is a wrong message. And that message is being the Epstein Island list. Pam Bondi, where's the
Republicans need
list?
to grow
Where's the list?
spine. They need to grow spine.
Where's the list? Where's the list? So Paulo was talking about that. My friend Paulo. And again, guys, if you want to interview him, he's my personal friend. I can just
Oh my
connect you.
God,
And
dude, that would be
Yeah.
a dream come true. Okay,
And then-
Alan dos Santos is the one I was talking about.
Alan dos Santos is the
Yeah.
guy that pretty much left Brazil, left his family
Yes.
behind, was without his family for 3.5 years, and America gave him an asylum, and then he was able to finally bring his family. But they took
They want to kill him, right?
Yes, they wanted to kill. They took everything away from both of them: passports, bank accounts, their businesses in Brazil. Paulo was one of Trump's partners in a building contract in Brazil. I mean, he was Trump's partner, and they shut down everything and seized the assets. So I can just bring Paulo. Paulo will bring Alan dos Santos. Both of them speak fluent English. They can tell you guys
Yeah,
all
I've
the
heard many
story.
interviews with them.
Rodrigo,
I follow them a lot.
yeah, Rodrigo Constantino is the other guy that he now is American citizen, but they also shut everything he had down in Brazil. There is a federal judge that had to leave Brazil. She fled to the United States of America. She came as an asylee, And now from here, she is able to fight, from far away, she's able to fight Brazilian tyranny. But again, Paulo is the guy that will connect you with all those guys, and it will be my honor, my pleasure
That would be
to
great.
That'd be amazing,
connect you
yeah.
guys with him. Absolutely.
How do you? I mean, can you tell the backstory and how you know him? I mean, I would love to hear that.
Well, I met Paulo. He started a course in 2022, and his online course for Brazilians. So everything that he does here, 95% of the things that he does is to try to help Brazil. So pretty much what we're saying is pretty much in Portuguese. He does just a couple interviews, and he writes articles. He's fluent in English. I mean, he's just amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
But so he put out an online course called The End of America as We Know It in 2022. And I was one of his students. And then I sent him an email and I said, Paulo, I am one of the J6ers, and I wanted to tell Brazil my story. I was not expecting him to answer me. He did.
I do that all the time. I'm like, they answered me. Okay.
We don't know, right? You just sow the seed.
Never know till you try. Yeah.
He answered me, and he said he set in a date. We talked for 2.5 hours I talked to Paulo and also with Ana Paula. Ana Paula is a very famous Brazilian volleyball player. And I was a volleyball player myself. So she is 10 years younger than me. She lives in California. She's also, she got married to one of the American team volleyball player. They met themselves in, I think it was in the World Championship or Olympics. They got married. So she's an American citizen as well. She loves this country. She's been denouncing the tyranny in Brazil as well with Paulo. So both of them interviewed me for 2.5 hours. And after that, we became friends. And he shared his personal cell phone with me. And then we started building together also a way of working in what is going on right now. And of course, this is on him. This is his credit. I don't know if you guys know that, but Paulo is the direct grandson of the last president of Brazil.
Yes. Yeah, that was going to say he's related to the last president that's locked up right now. Right?
So he is the grandson of the last military president. The story that I told you, the general that said in 1985 that Brazil was not ready for democracy, that was Paulo's grandfather.
I remember him telling that story.
So he has a love for Brazil. He has a love for America. But now he's being helped by Mike Lee, senator for Utah. He's being helped by Rick Scott in Florida. He's being helped by a lot of big names in D.C. But he's being building this massive process, this big case against Brazil for at least 2 years now. Again, because we had the January 8th there. So
yes. Can you for the audience explain January 8th? I'm sorry about that. I didn't want to interrupt, but a lot of people don't know about that. Now, if you're on X and you're politically active a lot, you'll know, but for some people, they might not. Can you explain that for them?
Right. So the January 8th in Brazil was the January 6th in America, was 2 years later for exactly the same reason.
Yes.
Election integrity, machines. We don't have mail-in ballots in Brazil. We don't have that, but we have machines. We have electronic machines that can be hacked, that can be messed with, which they did. Bolsonaro was not supposed to be reelected, as Trump was not supposed to be reelected here. But again, Paulo uses a phrase that summarizes this in such a wise and smart way, John. He says, the body politic of Brazil is a terminal old man approaching death. And the medicines that we have in Brazil have no power to give this body, the social body, any improvement. In America, we don't have an 80, 85, 90-year-old body he's talking about the country. And we have a younger body, but we also have much more powerful and efficient medicines, meaning the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all that. So that summarizes very well what happened in Brazil. On the day that happened in Brazil, on January 8th, Paulo was, and he has a reach with people, with his platforms. He was on a television show. He was part of the TV in Brazil. Even being here, he entered online. He spoke to many people, and I spoke to the little number of people that I could. As I saw things, and Paulo saw things building up, we started, and many others here in America started saying to our Brazilian friends and country people, guys, you are going to mess up. They are going to do the same. They're going to replicate January 6th here. Get out of the nation's capital. Get out of, because they were, you remember, they were in front of the military bases.
It was humongous. I mean,
it was just all over the country.
It was humongous. I remember
and I kept saying, and Paulo kept saying, get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. It's coming, it's coming. And it finally came. And only that day, they rounded up 2,150 people, including children, dogs, and cats. People that were praying with their Bibles, and they put them in sort of a concentration camp in a sports gymnasium. And they were there for 3 days without food, without water. And they did not know what was going to happen. The problem, guys, that was the evil behind all that, is that the buses came for them. The military people in Brazil said, here are the buses, let's get out of here. That was exactly the trap. They entered the buses like the Jewish people entered the train wagons in Germany, and they thought that they were being brought out of that problem. They were all of them sent to jail. Some of them have already been sentenced to 17, 14, 15, 18 years in jail.
So was it more of like a re-education as well?
There you go. They have attorneys. Well, here in America, we had that too.
I know we had that too. I was going to say
attorneys forcing the defendants to confess their sins and to say, my mind is going to change. Trump messed up. I was wrong. Just a brainwashing moment. This is happening in Brazil as we speak. Many Brazilians are just saying, no, I know what my eyes saw. I am not going to recount that. Okay, so be it. Now, in Brazil, we had people also dying in jail, as we did have here. So it was, guys, the same color revolution that happened here on the 2021. It happened in Brazil in 2023, exactly the same way.
I did have a question, because I know Brazil, you have like Afro-Americans and, like more lighter skin, and they did prey on that kind of thing as well, like we did in America. Is that correct? Like the whole, you're African and this is, they're doing this, you're oppressed and all that, and it's the white people.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So can you explain a little bit of that you saw?
Well,
that you.
John, this is pretty much USAID in full force, right?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Do you remember African presidents coming out in the media saying, I am not going to receive this money? I remember when I visited South Africa and Mozambique for the first time, and later on I saw the president of Congo, the president of some other African countries saying, we're done getting money from America. Why? Because that was the plan, USAID plan. You receive money, millions or billions, if you force your population to become LGBTQ, if you force abortion, if you force transgender bathrooms or whatever. So that is exactly what...
Divide the people, yes.
Yes. Divide to conquer. That is the Marxist premise that has been in place for so many years, so many decades, for centuries now. So this is exactly what has happened in Brazil. You divide the population in oppressed and oppressors. Now the oppressors need to pay affirmative policy, reparations. Well, but I never, I'm a white, or I am a rich person today because I work my ass off, but I never oppressed. I never oppressed anybody. I never enslaved anybody. No, but you are part of the system. You need to pay us money. So when you ask, when is enough enough? What is the line that I will have paid you, the oppressed ones, my fair share? There is no limit. It is just on and on and on. But this goes on and on and on. It's not even so much because of the money that they say that we need to pay, but it's because of the power battle. It is because of this divides the population. Because what Trump did was what? 40% of black people voted for Trump in 2024. I don't even know what's the percentage of people like us, Hispanics and Latinos, voted for Trump.
Especially the border towns.
Oh my God. So now you say you are not going to divide us anymore. We are Americans. I have a t-shirt. I walked with that t-shirt everywhere that I could. It reads black, white, Hispanic or Latino, Asian, and then this side, they are all sort of cut in red line. No, 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 no. And here, American. So what Trump did was exactly that. We are Americans. You are not going to divide us anymore. So that is what goes on in Brazil. Now, John, I go back to what Paulo talks about. The medicine, the remedies here in America are so much stronger than the ones that we have there. Why?
For now.
Well, yes, because what we have right now is the third most communistic constitution in Latin America. And of course, what happens is that that's all they have. Now, there is a groundswell of conservatives, of Christians. It is going to happen at some point. I don't believe that it's going to take. Okay, so let me tell you what's next now in Brazil. Next year, 2026, we have Senate elections. So if they are able to vote on 60%, meaning three-quarters of the senators aligned with President Bolsonaro, not only they are going to reverse his ineligibility, but they are also going to start the impeachment process of that one of the justices, but they are also eyeing two others. This is why the justices now are trying to force the Congress to become a parliamentary presidential system, meaning a Queen of England. The president will be a Queen of England, and the parliament is the one that has the cards on their hands. Not the people anymore, not we the people, but this body of people that they call moderator power or moderating power, which nothing less is than tyrannical people manipulating the whole system. So let's see what happens. But the influence that Trump is going to hit in the country, and Marco Rubio has already started, and Elon Musk has already started, I don't believe that they are going to get that far. And in 2026, probably we're going to have an election moment that these senators will be elected so that they can regain power, regain the control of the country, and allow the country to flourish and thrive once again. So we're praying and we're working. And I don't know anybody here in the United States or in any other part of the world that has been working on that more than Paulo Figueiredo is. So again, it would be my pleasure to connect you guys with him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. I think that'd be, I hope, what year is that again when they're going to do that?
Next year, 26. That is October 2026. We have senatorial elections. Well, we have Congress elections, and all they need is out of the 100 senators, they need 60. It's exactly the three-quarters that it's needed here in America, for example, for an amendment in the Constitution or the approval of a Supreme Court justices. There are decisions for the Senate that they need three-quarters of the number, which is 60. It's exactly the same in Brazil, copied and pasted from the American Constitution to the Brazilian Constitution.
I think we need to bring back the Monroe Doctrine, man.
I agree. We need something. We need a novelty right now. We cannot keep going. We cannot keep going on the same pathway. It has to change, and I believe that Trump is changing it dramatically. And this change of route of this big ship called America will change the route all across the planet. Europe will, Latin America will, China will be put in her place. So I have very good perspectives in the upcoming 5 years between now and the end of Trump's administration in 2028. I believe that we are going to see tremendous changes, and for our good in terms of the American people and the America First policies. So let's work help Trump work on that,
yeah.
especially in the local level.
I'm pretty sure Trump's job for his last 4 years is to pave the road
Yeah,
for his
I agree.
successors or whoever's next in line to.
Hopefully, JD.
It's
I
going to be JD. It's going to have to be, but I think that's what Trump's role is right now. He knows he has to lay the pavement for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I really do appreciate you. If you could get us in contact with them, that'd be great.
Thank you, John.
We're gonna definitely blast your stuff out there to try to get you some kind of funds to help you
Absolutely.
deal with those.
Thank you, brothers.
Like
Thank you.
judicial problems you're going through. Hopefully, you get a good result from that and
Amen.
get your green card and become an American like you have dreamed of for you and your family.
Amen.
I really appreciate your time, man. It was great talking to you. I really loved your take on the whole Brazil thing because the Brazil thing really interests me. I've been watching that shit for years. I've been looking at it, and it's always like I would love like more of it.
You are going to enjoy talking to Paulo. You are going to have a lot of fun. So he's a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
There we go. Hell
So
yeah.
he's a bit. So you are going to have. So he wasn't Steven Crowder, especially because of that. So you guys are going to have a wonderful time, much better time than you had with me.
We had a great
I'm an
time
old
with you.
school. My children call me old man. So Paulo is not that. He is very jovial, very young, so very full of energy. But again, you're going to have a wonderful time with him. But guys, let me one more time express my gratitude to you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the displacement from your homes to on a Friday night to this show. I appreciate the time that you gave me to tell my story, to bring out to the attention of the American people, especially here in Texas. I am appreciative and so grateful for your financial support, whoever can support us out there. May God bless you guys. And I want to come back with news soon. As soon as something develops here in our case, I want to come to your show and tell guys, hey, this is happening right now. And I want to be expressing that gratefulness in a more appropriate way when things start really being fixed up and building up toward our dream and our plan, which is to become citizens here. But for now, all my gratitude, all of my explosive gratitude of my heart for everything you did for me today. Thank you.
Oh man,
Absolutely.
we appreciate it, and I know we went way longer than we talked. But hey, man,
I love that, brother.
It was amazing.
I love that.
Hey, I was just gonna say before you said that, I was gonna say, man, anytime you want to talk, come on the show and talk with us.
Thank you.
I'll keep in touch because I keep in touch with all the everybody we talk to because I'm always good friendship is hard to find, so I'm always willing to especially make connections, network. So I really do appreciate you taking the time. I love how you messaged me right away and said, yeah, let me tell my story. That was great. And dude, I wish you the best of luck. I hope people will contribute. I know I will myself. And I'm putting Chris on the spot. Fuck you, Chris. You're going to contribute.
All right.
Now we'll both contribute, man. And we're definitely, I really do hope for you and your wife and your kids that y'all have a prosperous future.
Amen.
And since you have those connections that you do have, please start a podcast.
Absolutely.
And please have us on. And if you ever write a book,
Absolutely.
If you ever write a book, I love reading books. So please give me a signed copy. I'll pay for it, of course. I want my name on it. I want to.
Thank you.
Special.
Oh man,
I never
my
feel
honor.
special, so give me something.
My honor.
I want to sign book. Huh? Now,
let me tell you.
Trump impersonation. Hold on. But
Let me.
I just want to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll do that again. No, I would love to have a signed copy, man, and that'd be great.
You will.
And, yes,
Absolutely.
and please let me know. We'll always we're the type of people that always support anybody that's trying to make their life
And
better.
John, one thing that I would like to, I just remember, just to wrap this up. If you guys, I'm just a 4.5 hour drive away from you. If you have a group there, I have been saying this in all podcasts. If you have a group, a church or a GOP group or a group of friends in a school, in a business, if you want to have me to bring my story to your friends, to your circle of friends, families, I would love to go, just set up something. I don't charge anything. We are a ministry. We are supported by voluntary, spontaneous donations. So just set up the date, the place, the time. I will be there. I would be honored to tell my story to more people there. So if you or anybody that is watching this later in the future, if you have anybody in your group, in your city, in your town that you want to bring me to speak, I want to bring my story to you as well in order to give you hope and bring to you the idea that I have in my heart. It's not only an idea, it's a belief that I have, that if this country falls, the world falls. This is why we
Yeah.
need to fight for an
People
America
understand
with
that.
everything we have. So God bless you all, guys.
Hey man, that's awesome. And we are just we just built a studio. We're fixing it up right now. And that'll be great, man.
We're making it better.
And we'd like pay your expenses to come here for sure.
Absolutely.
But thank you again, brother. I really appreciate it. I hope everything works out in your favor.
Amen.
Please keep in touch. You got my
Yes, sir.
number.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully we could arrange some more stuff like that and network and see where it goes. And I definitely will send your stuff to the person I was talking about earlier.
Awesome.
And hopefully he could try to help you out with some of those those things that are going on.
Thank
And
you, John. Thank you, Chris.
Go ahead,
Appreciate you
Chris.
guys.
Eliel, I hope the universe turns in your favor, man. I'm gonna pray for you too. We're gonna do everything we can to help you and your family. I mean, you always have a platform here. If you ever want to come back again, you are more than welcome. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
We're family. I feel part of a big family now. Not only the J6ers family, but you guys like you, the lady that she interviewed me from Virginia, and I mean, she speaks our language. It is a growing family that I have right now, and I feel so sheltered, so well accommodated, embraced. So I thank you guys. There's lots of explosive gratitude in my heart. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, brother. Take us out, Chris.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining the podcast, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you for joining the J6 series headlined by John. We will see you guys. And for all of y'all who are J6ers, and for anyone who knows anyone J6ers, please bring them to our podcast. We would love to hear their stories, and we'll see you guys. Thank you so much. God bless.
And let's contribute to Eliel.
Amen.
All right,
Thank you,
have a great
guys.
night.
Thank
God
you,
bless y'all.